Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
The Wednesdays are here, as always. Oh, I don't even know what this was. What is this open? I have a bad time coming up with openings. I have a bad time coming up with anything to ever say ever. So you guys who've listened to this show long enough, you know what's up. So
we just roll with it, just like the BumbleKast official dice that you can get over at Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast/shop.
Yes, go check them out. They're very cool. They're very lovely. They're this nice marbled green. They have a lovely texture, and the BumbleKast logo is engraved on side number 6. So when you roll that maximum damage, you'll know BumbleKast. We're here for more priority questions and answers to those questions. So don't forget, you can send in your priority questions if you're a patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, or if you send in $5 via Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Starting us off, we get a question from Jams. How would you go about making a lore-heavy Sonic-style JRPG with a side character rather than Sonic himself? Who would you choose as the main lead in this game as a window into learning even more about Sonic's world?
I'd say take the Sonic Forces route and do an avatar character again.
Except actually give them a personality this time?
Nah, I mean, that's the problem with the avatar character is you can't account for every single variable. So to a degree, they have to be something of a blank slate. But if they have a dedicated character arc that you're investigating, maybe with a path or two, you can put a little more panache in it, I guess. And, maybe use the exploration of the Sonic universe to help define your character. Are you going to be a speed, power, flying, swim type in your move sets and in your environmental abilities? Are you going to be a hero? Are you going to go dark? Like, is there a pathway where you can kind of become the unofficial 4th member of Team Dark type of thing? The big thing, too, would be the ability to explore. Like, maybe this is just Genshin Impact on the brain, but I would freaking adore being able to actually explore South Island and West Side Island and Angel Island as one continuous landmass. Let each zone connect together in reasonable ways. Use what little maps we have and contextual clues to fit them together and actually get from point A to point B. I think that would be neat.
That would be awesome. Actually make it a true world. That would be great.
The amount of assets required for something like that is just mind-boggling, but hey, while we're dreaming.
That's okay. Sega can use some of that Yakuza money.
You mean the game series, right?
Am I talking about the game series or actual Yakuza money? The answer is yes. They're a Japanese
company. These implications.
They're a Japanese company. What do you think who do you think they've got getting paid from?
I want to keep my limbs, so I'm not going to answer that question. Let's move on.
Keeper of Monsters has a question. What are your thoughts on Sonic the Fighter's canonicity? Between the 8 Chaos Emeralds and there being 2 separate Death Egg 2s thanks to Sonic 4, I guess it makes sense for it not to be. I think it just feels off for Bean and Bark to be canon, but their only true game appearance to not be.
Sonic the Fighters, as far as I know, is counted, but kind of like a spinball that we discussed last week, you don't think too hard about it.
Selective elements of it are canon, at least.
Yeah, there was a fighting tournament to decide who'd get the emeralds and go fight Eggman on his Death Egg, and maybe it got blown up so fast he decided that one didn't count, and he made Death Egg 2 and Sonic 4.
It's Death Egg 1,
that one,
Death Egg 1.5. It's been rechristened.
And come to think of it, the 1 and 4 never actually got blown up.
Uh-oh.
They just defeated him briefly and fled. It's still around Little Planet.
Uh-oh.
According to the canon.
Uh-oh. The question really is then, is Sonic 4 canon?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Why?
Why not? I don't know. I still defend episode 2. I thought that was fun. It had some neat ideas.
I mean, that doesn't make my question any less valid.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Miles the Prower. I was wondering what you think a team up between Scourge, Shadow, and Neo Metal Sonic would be like. Would they even accomplish anything, or would they try to kill each other within 30 seconds? And for fun, how would you put them in the traditional team formation? Flight, power, and speed.
They wouldn't work together at all. Shadow knows Scourge and Neo Metal are threats and would try to eliminate them immediately. Scourge picks a fight with everybody he sees and would try to wipe them out. And Neo Metal would try to take their biodata and then smush them so that he was the only one with their powers. There is no way that they could be forced into a team alignment unless there was some kind of crazy higher power forcing their hands. In terms of alignment, they're all speed types, really. I mean, I guess you could default Scourge to speed, Shadow to power, because he is technically more powerful, what with his super strength and various chaos abilities, and Neo Metal can transform into a flying character?
I mean, that's about the best I could imagine. Or he just
Maybe
has a jet. He's got a turbine in his chest, so he can fly, maybe, technically. Sorta.
That head is not aerodynamic, though.
Yeah, well, it's the same head Sonic's got, and he runs at however fast he runs, so it must be somehow aerodynamic.
Sonic's spines are swept back. Neo Metal's is like a starfish splatted out on the beach.
This is Sonic, dude. It's cartoon logic. It doesn't have to make sense.
I know.
Aerodynamics? Screw that. This is not the real world. You don't have to worry about that. All right. And we got one here from Mimi Mint. Who do you think is the best, quote-unquote, evil counterpart of Tails in the franchise? If Moebian Miles, Tails Doll, Kit, Metal Tails, etc. were somehow together to compete, who do you think would come out on top, and how would they even determine who was the best at wit, skill, and other qualities that they all have in common?
I don't know if Tails does have a solid evil counterpart.
I think the answer is Tails Doll for all of them.
I mean, evil Tails, just to make a simple distinction, or Miles, we'll call him that. He is meant to be an antithesis, but that feels like it's cheating. It's just, here's the evil Tails, you know?
He's kind of boring.
Yeah, that's the default. Tails Doll, at least in context of modern Tails, I feel like is kind of an insult. It's not a robot. It's not offensively capable. Sure, there's the old Archie spoopy stuff that we did, but that's like not remotely canon. It's just, at best, he's a little creepy, floaty doll who's just there. And Metal Tails, I can't think of an official version off the top of my head.
I thought there was one, but maybe not.
I don't think so. Unless there's like some obscure bit of nuance that I'm missing somewhere, but not nuance, minutia.
And it was in the comics.
Yeah, but
that's just him. Comics. That's it.
Yeah.
Is it him roboticized? I thought it was.
I don't remember us doing an actual Metal Tails. Did we do a straight up Metal Tails? Wait. Did we have him in a Metal Amy?
Yeah, you did with Metal Amy. Yeah.
Oh wow, it's been so long.
Yep, I'm looking at him right now. So.
Well, considering how memorable he is, I'm not going to say
you didn't do much. You didn't do much with him. He got destroyed pretty quick. So.
I don't know. And even Wave, their rivalry is more kind of a occupational one, not so much personal. I think the closest thing Tails has to a counterpart rival, spiritual antithesis would be Speedy. And even then there's a bit of respect earned there. So I don't know. Like Sonic, you could try out a few examples, but I don't think Tails has a good evil counterpart. At least not like one that could stand on its own in terms of characterization.
Mm-hmm. Not even Kit?
Kit is more of a tragic antithesis.
Right.
I
feel like he is a different character just in general. He's not like an evil, necessarily a truly evil version of Tails. It's more nuanced than that.
He could grow into that role,
mm-hmm.
but he's not there right now.
Yeah. I mean, Surge is pretty clearly, her characterization definitely falls along the lines of being an evil, or at least mean counterpart of Sonic. But
Yes.
Kit
and
is...
Starline did develop Kit for, to fill Tails' role in
Right.
a meta-contextual sense. But the poor boy, he needs to grow in a direction one way or the other before he can really be said to be Tails' true evil antithesis.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. We got a question here from Noni. How do Zeddy know how to control robots? I mean, I know it's a thing they can do, but seeing how there doesn't seem to be any electronics on the Lost Hex before Eggman got there, how exactly did they know?
That is an excellent question.
They tried it, and it worked. Maybe
Pretty
that's it.
much.
Maybe that's it.
don't know.
I don't know. That's kind of how I use computers. Try it and it works. Try it and it breaks. Well, all right. Now how do I fix it? All right. Well, I fixed it. Now what? Oh, I'm going to break it again.
If they have electromagnetic abilities that they can control that directly, one could assume that maybe they have a sort of sixth sense. Like they could feel what they could interact with, and being exposed to the badniks as Eggman, fully invaded Lost Hex, maybe they were able to put two and two together. Hey, I feel a little bit of a connection between me and this robot. Can I do a thing? Hey, I did a thing. Well, I can't do anything right now. Eggman's got the conch. Oh, wait, the conch's gone. Well, look what I can do. That is premium grade headcanon. Don't take that as official, but I don't know.
The great robot's power allows them to feel.
And now I'm thinking of some kind of rap rendition by Zavok that's like spoken word.
Dun 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 dun.
I ain't going to let it get to me.
Yes. Here's a question from Pedanticat. What do you think some of the Sonic Cast's favorite Ghibli movies are? Amy strikes me as someone who loves Kiki's Delivery Service, given how it's about a young girl who enjoys helping people. Feel free to also include IDW Cast and Freedom Fighters.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say everybody loves Porco Rosso. Like, Amy loves the romantic angle to it. Sonic really enjoys the cavalier Porco himself. Tails loves all the mechanical aspect of it. Knuckles enjoys the jockeying and kind of fist fight in the third act. It's got something for everybody.
I have never seen a Ghibli movie, which might, I think is going to blow minds. We're going to be like, what? There's a lot of things I haven't seen. It's a big problem. Maybe I should fix that.
And I will say I would understand why some may not be your particular cup of tea, but this is my bias speaking. Porco Rosso is just so freaking charming. It's just this delightful fable, and I love it. And the animation in it is just jaw-dropping. There's a shot in particular where the plane is crossing the sea, and it's this really, really drawn back wide shot. So the plane itself is just this speck over the water until it catches the light and glints off it briefly. And it looks perfectly authentic to film.
Wow.
It is astonishing. And more than that, the whole film is just great. And that was not the answer to the question, but
Yeah, I feel bad. The chat is going crazy. They're like, what? It's like, yeah, there's a lot of things I haven't seen, guys. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't want to, or it's not that I have no interest. It's just there's a lot out there. There's a lot.
There is. And
I just have never had the opportunity or remember to watch it. So, yeah.
Quick little aside here. For those of you in the know, years and years ago, my father's only exposure to anime was Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. And we went to see Princess Mononoke in the theater.
Yeah.
Okay. He went into that blind. So I'll let you enjoy that mental image.
I'm guessing he was not expecting what's in that movie. I have some idea. You can't be around the people in the fandoms that I'm around this long and not have at least some indication of what's going on in Ghibli movies. So, yeah, I can imagine.
We came out of the theater, sat in the car for like a solid minute in silence until he just kind of went, wow. And I was like, yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun. That's a good memory. It's a good movie, too.
All right. And we got a question here. This is actually a sponsored question. Pigdan20 has sponsored one of Metal Skulkbane's questions. You were asked many times how you would write Mario or Zelda or Metroid. Time for a real challenge. How would you handle the Waka Waka boy himself, Pac-Man? Ongoing book, almost free reign, but you just can't just adapt the cartoon.
Here's the thing. Which cartoon?
The one from the 80s or the new one or
Yeah. Or and that's the thing is
one other one. I don't know.
I am passingly familiar with Pac-Man, and I know that there was some remaster that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
I know there is a significant amount of material out there. I'm not familiar with it. So first thing I would have to do is research that and see, what ideas exist across interpretations and what are the themes that the various Pac media have investigated. Are there reoccurring characters, enemies, running gags?
Yes.
What is in the greater Pac lore?
The ghosts.
And, well, yeah, I know the ghosts, but do I do a continuation on one aspect that was better received than others? Do I do a new approach and try to incorporate from everything else, kind of like the old Archie days? I don't know. It's one of those things where I know that my ignorance would not allow me to properly answer the question at this point. I would have to sit down and do my homework before I could do like a solid pitch on it.
I think something spinning off of Pac-Man 2 would be fun. Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures for Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, I believe. Yeah. That game is weird. There's definitely some strange things in there because, first of all, you don't control Pac-Man directly. It's more like you're suggesting to him actions to do. And he doesn't always want to do what you tell him to do. He gets belligerent a lot. So it's, but it could be fun. I think something spinning off from that would be a cool starting point. So the Namco may not want to go back to that, but yeah, I would like to see that. Quaggle Gaggle has a question. All right, Ian, I'll throw you a bone. As someone who's never played it, why is Skies of Arcadia so amazing?
Oh, Quaggle Gaggle. You cad. You know just what to say. Okay, so first and foremost, the music is astounding.
Oh, yeah.
Every track is great, is wonderfully atmospheric. The fight music will get you pumped. The creepy music sets the right atmosphere. And even for some of the more long, drawn-out fights, I'm looking at you, Gigas battles, the music is still going to keep you engaged. It's just a treat for the ears. Visually, it's delightful. It's whimsical. It's colorful. It's not quite what the concept art is, but, you have only so many polygons in the Dreamcast era, and I honestly kind of like the game renditions a little bit more, but that's just because that's what I was more exposed to, I'm sure. In terms of mechanics, it is a very basic RPG. Like, you're not going to find too many innovations, but that's fine because it does what it does well. It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't try to be overly super flashy. It just is a fun turn-based RPG. And you can get deeper into the mechanics if you want, but you don't really have to. You need to invest in Delta Shield before you hit the North Sea. Oh, God. But beyond that, and once you figure out the game mechanics, you could probably cheese most of it. But that's up to you. That's how you want to play the game. The characters are delightful. They're pretty high-level archetypes, but that's part of the charm to it, is it tells a pretty standard fantasy JRPG story, and it does it well. It doesn't try to, part of it too is the era it came out in. This was around the time of your Final Fantasy 7s and 8s, and a lot of the RPGs were swinging more towards grim, serious stories, and Skies of Arcadia is unashamedly happy.
Mm-hmm.
It just delights in its world and its characters and its whimsy. And there are serious moments, there are stakes, there are consequences, but those moments are escalated by just how much lovely fun you're having in the rest of the game. And the ship battles, they can draw on a little long, especially you Gigas battles, but they're a neat, different kind of turn-based system because you input your individual commands all in a row, and then they play out during a round of combat. And there is a battle forecast kind of giving you an idea of when something big's coming, but you don't know exactly what or from where. So there's a little bit of detective work on your part to decide on where you're going to attack. Can you potentially interrupt their attack? Do you move more towards defense and evasion because you don't know what's coming? Or do you go in guns blazing and hope for the best? And once you get the Delphinius and you charge up your special attack, Moonstone Cannon Fire is the 3 greatest words in the English language. Oh my God, that animation never gets old. And the final boss event is a gauntlet, but each segment is distinct, and it feels like a celebration of the characters and the mechanics, and you really feel like it's the culmination of everything you've been building towards. And just, oh my God. And Gilder is the manliest man to ever man, and Drachma is boss, and Vice is just a great heroic character, and Aka is delightful, and Fina is precious. And why was she limited to her pirate outfit for just the ending cinematic? If they did a remake, that should be a skin that you can unlock on like your second playthrough, for the love of God. I always miss like the same 5 treasure chests in every single playthrough, and I have no idea where they are. The extra content they added for the GameCube edition is fine. It's kind of neat. Pyastal has a really weird but neat design. I want to know why they gave her the little dog from the Ixatakan region. It does get a lot of explanation. It doesn't really need any to get down to it. It's just kind of fun that she has that. It's a neat little bit of environmental storytelling. All of the generals from Vlau are just wonderfully comic book villain. I love every single one of them and their thematic ships. Yeah, Vigoro's problematic, but that's the joke. Look at his hair, for pity's sake. And the base building, once you get to Crescent Island, I spent hours just running around that delightful place because this was my base. This was my home. It just was great. And once you finally get the white map and you can fly all over the place and you don't have to worry about the freaking loopers popping out every 5 minutes. I mean, yeah, some of the random encounters are a bit rough, but you get the white map pretty early on, and it's lower than the Dreamcast version, so it's fine. It's fine. It works out. There are nitpicks to be had, sure, here and there, like it's a pain in the butt to get Drachma up to everyone's level if you want him for the final scenario, but I mean, it's still technically doable, and just the whole thing is just delightful and charming, every last bit of it. So if you can track down the GameCube version and you have a functioning GameCube, go for it. Grab it. It's just, I love it.
Don't forget the Wii's backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And also, you're forgetting the most important part, Ian. Charles Martinet is in it. He's the voice of the old man.
I forgot he was Drachma.
Yep.
Now, granted, there's like maybe 20 voiced lines throughout the entire game, but
yeah.
Man, when you get his third super out there and he comes down with that gigantic freaking steampunk hand, and he's just like, die, splat, what a man.
What if you're not a fan of turn-based JRPGs? Was this a game you'd recommend for somebody? Do you think is this a game that would change their mind, or someone would make an exception for?
Really depends on just how much you dislike turn-based RPGs. I understand that mentality. It can be a bit slow-paced, and the mechanics are pretty straightforward. So if that kind of monotony and simplicity just turns you off, maybe the charm of the game isn't enough to carry you through. I'll be honest. But I kind of like it in that simple, just sit down and enjoy yourself type of thing. I'm not thinking too hard about tactics. I'm not worried about min-maxing my team. I'm not worried about cooldown rates. I'm not worried about elemental affinities. It's just you swing your pretty sword at the floating jellyfish, you get loot, you fly on.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the appeal is once you're able to explore the world is just using your airship to fly and explore and just go places. And that feeling of freedom and exploration is
Wow. I knew you'd go off on this one. So like, I'll just step aside and let you go. I do want to check it out at some point. But again, it's an RPG. It requires a lot of time investment.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, oh well. Fittingly enough, our next question is from Scurvy Pirate Hog. So, with IDW, one vibe I got was the comic was trying to set up a sort of rogues gallery for Sonic, so he'd have more enemies to fight along with Dr. Eggman, Metal, and such. The introduction of characters such as Rough, Tumble, Mimic, Surge, and Kit seemed to support this, but with all this, it made me wonder, killing off Starline, was that an easy decision? I mean, without him, the rogues gallery is a little smaller than how it was earlier. Or was he never meant to be an adversary for Sonic in the first place? Only an adversary for Eggman?
It wasn't an easy decision, but it felt natural once we came to it. That's just kind of where his character grew as we went there. And I don't know, it felt like he had told his story. He was done. We set out to do something with him, and we did it. And rather than draw that out, tie a bow on it, bring it to a conclusion, thematically, personally, and be done with it. We can always create new rogues if need be, but I would rather see characters through to an end if necessary, rather than drag it out just to keep them around.
Mm-hmm.
Rough and Tumble are pretty simple.
Yeah.
They're mooks. They don't have a greater arc to be explored at the moment. They're there to cause trouble and get beat up, and that's fine. That they serve that role. Mimic is meant to be the occasional boogeyman, and he's fine. He shows up, causes a little bit of trouble, and he's gone again. That's fine. Starline's ambitions were too big to be that kind of show up and go away type of thing without becoming redundant to Eggman.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is the fan demand to find a way to bring him back, we would need to find something new to do with him. I don't want to retread old ground, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Plus, we have Clutch, we have Surge, we have Kit, we have lots of villainy to call upon. So we're not hurting for a rogues gallery right now.
Nah. Let the duck rest. Here's a question from the Shadow Emperor. Have you ever noticed that when Blaze absorbs Iblis and vanishes to another dimension in 06, her cuffs turn fiery pink like burning blazes? I've long felt that to be a visual hint at a connection between Iblis and the Soul Emeralds, but I never see anyone mention it.
Actually, I was doing research for another project on this specifically. And here's the thing. At the end of Silver's story, and Blaze is sealing Iblis in her soul because she can handle the fiery power, she tells him to send her to another dimension, and he can't bring himself to do it. And then Blaze turns into Burning Blaze. This is said in the script, and I feel comfortable enough saying that because that was leaked years ago. So it's out there. And she removes herself from the scenario, presumably going back to her home dimension.
Yeah.
And Burning Blaze can do that because that's what the Soul Emeralds do. This assumes that she's had the Soul Emeralds on her for the entirety of 06. But you also have the issue of her... You know what? This is all the troubles with 06's story anyway. Point is, you are right. That's Burning Blaze. That's her going home. And the fact that she has Iblis locked inside her still is unresolved.
Alrighty. And our last question before we take a break comes to us courtesy of Scruffy Matt. Does Mimic's face ever get stuck in whatever form he's taken when the wind changes? I have to know.
I would imagine he's enough of a professional that he can handle it. But maybe some days he kind of wakes up in the morning and that's not his face staring at him in the mirror. He's got to massage it back into his normal, gruesome, beaky self.
Yeah, so I guess that would make sense. Sometimes maybe it's a weird dream.
Or you know how you kind of make faces to yourself when you're like thinking on something and you're kind of lost in thought.
Yeah.
Maybe he's prepping for a job and he's just kind of accidentally morphing into people. It's a little lost in the moment.
Yeah, goes through and starts to morb and stuff. So, yeah, I get it.
If he doesn't do his warm-up exercises, he gets a bit of a cramp and just all of a sudden he's a Picasso.
The scream. All right. I think that's enough. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back with more BumbleKast.
Something a little different this week. We have an ad from a patron this time. This one coming from Daniel H. Daniel says, I'd like you to meet Jordan. She's an aspiring filmmaker and cool lady and needed some help. She needs to raise some money for her HRT prescriptions and to move to a more friendly environment. If you could take a moment to visit her GoFundMe page, we'll have a link down in the description, and give a talented artist a helping hand, it would be much appreciated. Thank you for your time and take care. And thank you, Daniel, for your ad.
We're back, and here's a question from Shining Nova. Regarding Cheese in Advance 3, I remember in team moves he could transform into a Chow form for all of the other characters, albeit temporarily. Do all Chow eventually revert to their base selves, or does Cheese have a special power that other Chow don't have with changing back?
I'm inclined to say that was a one-off game mechanic and not to be too beholden to it, which is a shame because it was really cool. I really liked that. But we've never seen it before. We've never seen it since. I wouldn't necessarily default that to like hardcore series lore.
They're always like that though, like always the cool things.
I know.
Never have the cool things anymore. It's like, oh, cool things are not allowed. No more cool things. Oh well. Here's a question from Smiley42116. What is Scourge's favorite food?
It's still chili dogs. It's just he knows deep in his heart he appreciates them more than Sonic does.
Oh, okay. I figured
his chili recipe is far superior. What are you talking about?
I figured it'd just be ultra spicy chili dogs.
Oh yeah, he loves the burn. He wants a food that fights back, but it's still chili dogs.
Okay, good. What about Surge's favorite food? Wait, we already went through this, I think. She was yeah. She also liked chili dogs, but she found out Sonic likes them and was like, nope, I don't like them anymore. Something like that. Here's a question from Sonic Padge. Hypothetical question time. Sonic is going to get a new animated series, and you get to choose between one of two directors. Do you choose Genndy Tartakovsky or Hiroyuki Imaishi?
I'm going to go with Imaishi. And I say this as a big Genndy fan, as someone who has caught up on Primal and has come around on it. That's a whole other podcast that I could do. Lee's been listening to me rant recently about it anyway. But Genndy's strengths are his buildup, his use of atmosphere and environment and building tension and environmental storytelling. And sure, his action beats are phenomenal, but that's because he does the slow burn setup so that when he exalts in the violence and the action, it's extremely cathartic. That's not Sonic's style, I don't think.
No.
It needs more razzle. So between the two of them, I'm going to say Imaishi, because Gurren Lagann Kill la Kill is high octane, super kinetic, frantic even, and it's fun, it's bouncy, and that I feel is more Sonic like.
I feel like the answer should be, why not both? I don't know.
Well, see, Genndy's busy with my Metroid cartoon in my head.
Right. So. Okay. Actually, yes. Like, oh, yes. Okay. All right. You sold me. You got it.
I mean, just imagine his style of Samus exploring an alien world where it's desolate, windswept, no music, and then something chitters in the background.
Yeah.
The way he would build up the suspense to something trying to eat her or some cute animal would be perfect. I can see it in my head so vividly, and my God, it'd be brilliant.
Oh, man. I'm really only familiar with Samurai Jack, but a Metroid cartoon in a similar vein to that, yes. please. Yes. Here's a question from Sonic. Hey, since Elise only went back 10 years to destroy Solaris, does that mean that Solaris still existed once? As blowing out the flame of Solaris 10 years ago wouldn't erase it from existence from all points in time before she blew it out. Also, it was established that Solaris needs to be destroyed in the past, present, and future to be destroyed completely. So how does Elise blowing it out in only one point in time in the past erase it completely?
God, I hate this storyline.
Plot holes!
I mean,
Sonic
that's a
06? No.
You make a completely valid point. I'm not calling you out, Sonic. I'm just saying, oh, what a mess this story was. First, I believe the past, present, future destruction thing was within the context of what Solaris had already done to space-time, which was break down the dimensional barriers into this kind of homogeneous, miasmic non-time. So confronting Solaris in this null space was effectively hitting it all 3 points. I'm grasping at straws here. I'm trying. As for the time travel and snuffing it out, I don't know if it was just 10 years. It could have been longer, because what we see is the containment unit that's holding the flame, and it had been moved to a completely different facility when the Duke did what he did and everything exploded and we had a plot. So it could have been 10 years and 1 month. It could have been 12 years. It could have been 20 years. We don't know. But your point is still valid. If she went back and snuffed out the flame before the experiment, it would still exist before that point in time. But I guess the crux of it is that it just wasn't split. So she erased it before the Duke did his crazy mad science. And that was the big thing. And I almost said you can't go back in time and change that, but that's the entire point of a time travel story, isn't it?
You said Duke.
I did.
Thank you. Here's a question from Speedweed. So, Neo Metal Sonic can essentially download the biometric data of various living beings, right? And from what I can understand, he can use multiple sets of data like we saw in his comic book debut, right? So in that case, what in the hell would go down if he tried to download the biometric data of either Samus or Dark Samus? Does Neo Metal just overload from all these genetic strains being implemented in these two? Can he actually use their biometric data against either of them? And could the same be said for really anything that is a very messed up genetic code under the hood? Basically, what would be the upper limit for all this biometric data going on?
Well, if we're looking at Samus, she's fine. I mean, I'm assuming that the power suit is somehow biologically linked to her. The Chozo tech is vague from my understanding. You know, is she part of the suit? Is the suit part of her? But given how intrinsically linked she seems to be with it, I'm assuming that the suit is just kind of part of her through Chozo super science. Mm-hmm. So whenever she gets new abilities or new infections or new mutations, and she continues to function and it adapts into her being, there's a base underlying code there of if this, then that. You know, you've got X-Parasite, you got Metroid, you got whatever floating around in her DNA now, but it all works. So in theory, if Neo Metal were to copy that, he would get that underlying functioning code. So then you would have someone with all of Sonic's movesets along with Samus's arsenal.
No. Do not want. I mean, I do, because it would be badass, but no, do not want.
Grapple beam assisted homing attack?
Yeah.
Hyperspeed in all contexts?
Screw attack plus spin dash.
Oh, he'd be terrifying. Same would go with Dark Samus. Dark Samus seems to be a simpler genome in comparison, to be perfectly honest. And Phazon is all about integrating tech and biology, so
yeah, okay.
You'd get Neo Metal with basically the same moveset as Dark Samus on a kick-ass new paint job.
Ooh, nice glowy bits.
Like all the blues become that like dark nearly black, and then all the silvers become that kind of neon blue running lights.
Yeah, yep. That would be badass. I like it.
I mean, neo-metal seemed to be the pinnacle of the rarely mentioned chameleon chip. So I'm assuming that he can just do.
Yeah.
I mean, and if the base form can't handle it, he can clearly transform into a form that does handle it. Ergo, Metal Overlord.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, neo-metal would just be nigh unstoppable and cool.
Oh, so just like normal then. Here's a question from Superior Pizza. So there is Robo Ian, Starline Ian, Vector Ian, Big Ian, Whisper Ian, and Bumble King Ian. Are we entering the Ian verse? If so, where is Ian Prime?
Whisper Ian.
Forgot about Metal Ian.
Yeah, but that's not really my voice. That was my lack thereof.
I know. Whisper Ian, I guess, is just the few times you've done a little whisper voice, I guess.
Yeah,
but that's more just you. That's just you whispering. It's not you trying to be Whisper. So, are we in the Ian verse?
I prefer not to think of it as like a multiverse thing, but more like Legion out of X-Men. A whole bunch of inconsistent and not fully fleshed out ideas, all contained in one jittery little crazy dude. Not the hair, though. I'll pass on the hair.
Okay. Maybe they mean Robotnik Ian. Eggman Ian. That's not listed on here, but you do a great Eggman voice.
Oh, no.
I mean,
close.
I mean, it's not Mike Pollock, but nobody is except Mike Pollock. So, but still. Here's a question from Tempo. Has the BumbleKast itself ever had an influence on any creative decisions you make? Given how many people repeatedly come to you asking the same questions over and over again, have you ever found yourself doing a double take and deciding a plot point or clever reference isn't worth the inevitable hassle?
No, because the BumbleKast is just one very focused form of feedback, and there's other feedback and other avenues. So the BumbleKast itself, I don't take in a vacuum.
Depending on who you ask, you don't take any feedback at all.
And I can't think of anything that we've done on the show that's made me go, oh yeah, I should do this, or maybe I shouldn't do that again. But
well, I mean, show did inspire you to write Metroid fanfic.
Well, that's
one
true.
time. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's over on my personal Patreon, patreon.com/Ian Flynn Writing. Thank you so much for setting me up with that.
You're welcome. Glad I could help.
But in terms of Sonic stuff, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Maybe somewhere. We've standardized these things. We've come up with these things like, I don't know, we've established characters' favorite foods on this show. I mean, they're still subject to Sega approval ultimately, but
until that actually gets published in something official, that's
we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out someday if Jewel is in fact obsessed with chicken wings. Once we see it on the actual
eat so many chicken wings.
Once she's actually on the page. So, and of course, there's also the constant pitches of Sonic Boom that we come up with on this show. Sonic Boom episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's my retirement plan. Once I finally walk away from Sonic, I'll just see what Sonic fans, artists want to contribute to a Boom book and just put it out there. While away my halcyon days with nonsense. Not halcyon days. I'm already slipping.
I can we are very much slipping. That's okay, because Wheels 282 Hedgehog is here to catch us. I hope, maybe. I don't know. They might not be. They might just let us fall, which is fine. Anyway, they have a question. In the pre-Archie reboot span of events, the Black Arms were said and shown to be fighting a war against the Zorda during the time they'd ideally be invading Mobius. Due to the sheer vastness of the world and the number of characters, I think it did leave a fair amount of people wondering how that inevitable invasion would play out. I assume the intention was to explain why the Zorda didn't just slip space back immediately and to reference the Black Arms as to at least show they were not forgotten. Was there an eventual plan at some point to bring them in? And if you had decided to do a pre-reboot Archie interpretation of how Black Doom's invasion would go, what differences do you think this would have made from the video game in terms of characters? By this point, Shadow was much different positively speaking, from his official counterpart, and there is much larger and more capable supporting cast of characters. But it's also harder to acquire Chaos Emeralds and a more defined Chaos Force.
This is kind of Lost Hedgehog's territory, but we'll do a surface level overview. The big plan was that the Black Arms were going to kill off the Zorda. Just wipe them out. Take them out, be gone. And then invade Mobius, and it would be a loose adaptation. I don't know how faithful we could be because, one, it was an Archie book, so I don't know what level of cartoon violence we could get away with, assaulting living beings. Even the game itself would not have been, oh, they did it fine in the game, so we should do it here. It would not hold any precedence. And like you said, there would be a much larger cast of characters, so my idea was that it would be the next kind of big event arc whenever we got to it. And we never got to it.
Well,
I mean, there was also the backup plan that if Sega never allowed us to reference it, or if people just didn't want us to go there, they were forever stuck in war with the Zorda. The Zorda are very powerful. So yeah, they're just out in space fighting. That's the canon answer. Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. Here's a question from Wild48. Given the Phantom Ruby's penchant for dimension hopping, let's say after Eggman's defeat in Sonic Forces, the Ruby makes a break for even more dimensions that are tied to Sonic. How would the Mega Man and Sonic Boom universes deal with the sudden arrival of Phantom Ruby? Would Dr. Wily already have a specialized Robot Master cooked up? Would the Boom crew have to manage a Ruby-powered Styx? Oh no. Oh no.
I imagine Wily would more or less follow in Eggman's footsteps in a lot of ways. Make a Phantom Man that's powered by the thing.
Yeah.
Use its power to create the robot utopia that he wants, and it's up to Rock to get through it, and could maybe have some fun with what he can process, and how does Dr. Light find a way to program him so that he's able to differentiate between the Phantom Ruby's false inputs and what the real world is.
Mm-hmm.
Robot masters from all over of all types could come back. A fully controlled Raw Moon, Phantom Raw Moon.
Oh no. Oh.
You telling me that Wily, if he could make his own Raw Moon that he knew he could control, he wouldn't? Oh, he'd do. He absolutely would do.
Oh yeah. That sounds amazing. I want this. I want this really bad. And
that'd be fun.
And I want Phantom Man to just have the same personality as Infinite. I want him to just be exactly the same. Just acts exactly the same. He's even voiced by Liam O'Brien. just go full on. It's Infinite. Just Mega Man style. That would be amazing.
As for the Boom crew, I imagine it would be a sequence of wish fulfillment stuff.
Yeah.
Where each one finds it and is like, oh, I wish I had this. And it would just create that illusion around them. And then people would kind of wander into it and accidentally come across the Phantom Ruby, which has now been left forgotten as a paperweight, or, sitting on top of a pile of coconuts or whatever.
It would just be completely like...
There's
no threat or anything. Just completely...
The friends end up fighting over it because they each want their own desire selfishly, and that's when Eggman takes it, and then they can't quite figure out where it went until they look over to Eggman's base, and it is constantly cycling through different scenarios because he can't make up his mind what he wants.
Yeah. Turns into the Sad AM base, turns into the Adventures of base, turns into his various game bases. I can't decide what it wants it to be. Some nice references. But what happens when Dave gets it? Oh, no. Then we might have some trouble.
Well, then it's a two-parter because that's when he takes over.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Then they have to fix that problem.
Instead of a dark lord, you'll have a darker lord. As beautiful and terrible as the dawn.
Freaking Dave. Oy. And we got one from Windstar Osprey. A joke among the Archie fans is that if Akhlet had a child of his own, he'd be a better father than Tundra. The general consensus is that Akhlet would be strict and harsh. He's basically a Viking warlord, but ultimately would want his child to thrive and prosper. Would you agree with this sentiment, if only despite one of the worst people in Archie Sonic since Drago Wolf? P.S. R.I.P. Sherman Walrus and family. R.I.P.
Now, I can't personally endorse any fanon, but old Archie is dead, and that makes total sense. So, yeah, go with it. Run with it.
It's yours now.
You have my semi-official stamp of approval.
Yes. Our last question for this episode comes to us courtesy of The Cartoonist. What's your top 3 South Park the movie songs? Ian, you're in a safe place here. You can blame Canada if you like.
Yeah. That was written by Robin Williams. Of course it's great.
Was it? Really?
I think so, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I mean, pretty much the entirety of the South Park movie is a fantastic musical when you get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little awkward saying I enjoy Kyle's Mom as a bitch, given present company.
It's okay. It's fine.
In context, you know what I mean.
I mean, yes, but it is a very funny song.
And just the spectacle of what the movie does with it. You know, it's been a staple of the show, and then they just raise the bar. Ask the kids around the world, it might go a little something like this.
Yeah. Yep.
What would Brian Boitano do, though, is just the height of surrealist nonsense hilarity for me. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just so dumb and random, it cracks me up. And it's a fun tune. Never mind that.
Yeah.
And either the movie version or the Irish punk band version.
Oh, man. It's been ages since I've seen the movie. So the only ones I remember are Blame Canada and Uncle Effa. And, yeah, that's
a fun one.
But
I'm also really tickled by the ballad Satan has about escaping hell and just enjoying life on the surface.
I mean, that sounds like a great concept.
Up there where flowers bloom. No, wait. Up there, there's so much room.
Yeah,
babies burp and flowers bloom. Everyone dreams, I can dream too. Up there, up where the sky is ocean blue. I could be free and live without a care. I ain't going for that high note, but oh my God, that's funny.
Dang.
I don't know if I can rank them, but what would Brian Boitano do is number one for me for all time.
That's very funny. I need to...
When Brian Boitano traveled through time to the year 3010, he beat the evil robot king and saved the human race again. When Brian Boitano built the pyramids, he beat up Kubla Khan, because Brian Boitano doesn't take shit from anybody. Why? What? And I looked this up. Because I was curious if they were like friends with him or fans or something. And no, it's just like a name out of a hat almost.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea about this.
Just random.
But you know, he seemed to be flattered by it, and they worked together to do a tie-in, merch that went to charity. So
yeah,
you know, just good things overall.
Yeah, I guess it's just a random reference, but it's very funny. Oh man. Well, I think that's all we got for this episode.
Yep. But before we wrap it up, we need to give a big thank you to all the folks who support us over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotin Combs, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Torchbound, Mike B., Dave M., Coupling Crew 128, Duas Disdin, Jay Frost, Salute Your Cat, Andrew D., Hero of Light 13, Professor Scruffy Matt, Ryan D., Chris A., Sonny, John M., Noni, Jib, Don B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Fiona M., Chevelle, Invade Turbo Tunas, Sonic, Ben W., Blue Title Gamer, Keeper of Monsters, Tick Tick, Axis, Xanderoni the Painter, Final Neil, Scurvy Pirate Hog, Jonathan Ink Pants is missing his actual pants, the name is X, Justin S., Solera Stain, Nimmer, Godzilla, Dadler the Dalek, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Daniel B., Ava Arctic, Pedanti Cat, Dove, Red the Supernamic, Arc Fighter, Quaggle Gaggle, Chad, Nondle, Professor Rye, Jack the Animator, Cameron H., Les, Jennifer H., Sapphire Scarletta, Alphamon or Yukon, Joshua S., Omega Watt, Preston M., Sonic 84, Noah S., Finest Cacophony, Alex GS, Corjiro Highwind, Supersonic Fan, Awesome Cakester, Radry, Dapper Shinks, Just a Mountain Soul, Callan Q, Red Wolf, Ty H, Starlight Sec, and Tails, Maddie H, KJB, John the Real Waluigi, DeRucival, In Zephyr, Cosmic Cooking Hunter 77, Mox, The Marble Gardener, Owen BD, Lemur Chicken, Wild 48, T Ranger, Twilord, Ryle 74, King Toasty, Miles the Prower, Navarre, Exidel, Agent Kaz, For Sonic Fan, Lewis J, Michael P, Rhythm Raccoon, The Disgayan, Fenris Asker, Pap, Delta God 77, Miggy Sawdust, Pigdan 20, Ty Cyan, Jamal S, Curly Quills, Oz Jam, Shimmy M, Josiah H, Angela V, Lacey M, Unlikely Veronica, Fang the Werehog, Caleb, Phi, Nova Polyduo, Timon B, Thievius, Smiley 21, The Flower Garden, Sammy S, Give Up Your Children Separate, Bowser Studios, Tetsu Knife, Sterling Sonic, Crowbo, Sonic Mania 2099, Thigoff, Hadronis, Nils, Chaos Sonic 1, Sky the Desu, Supernova, Indebend, Superior Pizza, Charlie B, Chaos Shadow, Sonic Padge, The Internet Person, The Shadow Emperor, Shining Nova, Zek Cartoonist, Buttered Noodles, Frost the White Lion, Danny the Light, Ryoko Shion, Metamode, Wheels 282 Hedgehog.
Thank you so much for your never-ending support. It just keeps happening. That list, how does that list keep happening, Ian? That list just keeps expanding and growing and exploding. I don't know how it, I don't know, man.
Nigh upon 160 patrons.
Woo, buddy. Woo. Amazing. Thank you all.
We will see you Friday for the standard edition Q&A. Till then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Alrighty. See you next time. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org. Next week, we also had to move to Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I've got back-to-back appointments in the evening. So, I mean, I could possibly make it back in time, but...
not worth worrying about it. Back-to-back, he's spinning on his back, back-to-back.